So I'm excited to bring you this one because what we need to do is we need to start understanding, and this is a continuation, not on purpose, but I was looking back. This is a continuation of the last couple where we've talked about defining these true roles of the front desk, the dual roles. And if you want to call the back office, it's almost the tri roles of what we typically call front desk. And by bundling everything into the front desk, then it's kind of that thing like multitasking. When you multitask, then nothing really gets done well, right? Things get done, but not well. So if we back up this front desk role and we look at what we really want to achieve with this role, we find out there's actually three different things that need to be achieved, three different accountabilities, three different task lists, three different metrics of success, right? So this will continue that around the sales role of that front desk person that I talked about over the last 2 weeks. The reason why we don't look at the admin role and the back office role is because I find everybody's got that dialed in, but they've allowed it to overflow into the front desk, and they've allowed the necessary, don't get me wrong, the necessary task of the paper, of the insurance, of the authorizations, of the billing, of documenting copays and all that. They've allowed that to seep into what is the sales role, the person that is the entry point to the business, the person that will prepare people. Remember, this is where everything flows from: to arrive, to pay, to stay, so complete a plan of care, and then do your marketing with you. And if you think about it, those other things and the tasks and the paper and the phone calls to insurance companies are necessary support roles to make those four things happen. So I don't want to say they're lesser, yet they're further downstream and they're a support role. So if your front desk salesperson, I think I said this last week, if your front desk salesperson is in the middle of making an insurance verification phone call when a new patient calls, what do, right? If they're on the other line on hold with an insurance company and someone calls and they're the person who's best at helping people to understand why they should arrive, pay, stay, and do their marketing with you, then what do? And whatever they do is not wrong, yet I would say it's not the best use of their time and energy, and it's not wrong because you, the practice owner, the business owner, the practice manager, the front desk manager, allowed this mindset that everything is equally important. Said this too. Go online and look at front desk jobs. And there's all these task lists for the task, right? What's required of this role, and somewhere in there always is answer phones, help people get scheduled, and collect copays. And I'm like, wow, those are really, really, really important when we do what I'm talking about. When we look further upstream, and the rest of these are support necessary, but support. I'm like, how'd those get buried in the tasks, right? So burying this oh so important answer the phone, and literally I always love how it's answer the phone as a task. Come on, you've asked them to deal with patients in front of them, you've asked them to collect copays, you've asked them to call current patients for appointment reminders, to follow up, you've asked them to do authorizations, to do all this other stuff, and oh, by the way, answer the phone. So where's the priority? I get asked this all the time. Jerry, I need help with my front desk understanding how to manage a person in front of them and the phone. And I'm like, you don't want my answer, because that's not something to be managed. It is to be done short term, because many of us go through that growth phase. And it is something to be done very short term. But when I walk into an office and they have 2 or 3 front desk people, and the phone's ringing there, and there are people coming and going and all this commotion, it's interesting because my first thought is, who is managing the entry point to the business? There is a retention component here. There is a taking care of people who have already chosen to spend their time, money, and energy with us, right? We need a team to do that. I used to call that team the face of the company. When I was when I was putting this together, the voice of the company was that first touch point, right? That was, maybe they saw your website, maybe they saw some information online, maybe they saw a flyer, maybe someone told them to call you. And then their first touch point with your company was going to be the voice of the company. And that's that front desk salesperson. I then said, well, there's a huge need. There's absolutely no need, nor is there any reason to believe we shouldn't have people at the front desk, right? Because they play a different role. They play a retention role. They play what I call an excite, right? And excite is that whole patient experience, right? How do people feel? They play a whole role there. They collect copays, right? They do the work of retention. And so I call them the face of the company. And I really like that because I really think that helps to get us in the mindset of the differentiator between, right, that whole thing. Well, who should answer the new patient call? And if there's a person in front of them, I'm like, someone else, right? Because it's never the right answer. Who do I deal with first, the person in front of me or the phone? I'm like, yeah. Because really what I tell people, if your front desk is dealing with someone in front of them, don't pick the phone up. It's that freaking simple. Now, have systems in place for the voicemail and things like that to talk about, right, how quickly we're going to get back to you, how important you are, and I can't believe you got our voicemail, and we'll get back to you ASAP, right, or 50 minutes, right? You do things like that so we can build processes around them. But that's got to be a short-term process. You will lose people. You will lose business with that approach. And by the way, the other approach where everything is done at the front desk, where people are coming and going and the phone's going off, you lose business too. And you lose business because here's the killer. That's the double-edged sword. When you don't get these defined, you're losing business through the front desk, through the entry point. And then secondly, you're losing business on retention, drop-offs. So I'm like, so then, again, back to my example, if you only have one person and they're dealing with the person in front of them, that's the person you want to focus on. If you're at the front desk and you're on the phone with a new patient, that's the person you want to deal with. So it's very, very, very important to understand what these roles are. That's why before I roll out these 5 steps, it's really important, right? Everybody getting uptight about the word sales and everything, and I'm like, it's a significant role. And when I read through this 5 steps, I could have called it the 5-step front desk process, and everybody went, this is fucking awesome. Problem is, this is a sales process. This content is from my sales material, from reading other people's sales experience and sales success. So let's quit trying to redefine terms to fit us because we're uncomfortable with them, which is interesting in 2020, which is an interesting statement. Right? And let's own the work done by the people before us. And no, let's not try to prove that healthcare is different, because it's not. It's been proven it's not. Let's not try to pretend, or let's not try to pretend that, right, we have to use fancy words like alliance and trust and all those, because guess what? Those words were used in sales literature before we grabbed them. And some of those words we invented because we didn't like the word sales. So let's just take the word sales and let's own it. And when I give you these 5 things today, this is what you call your sales process. That's what I wrote in the Facebook, right? It's you're going to be surprised. Yet, here's the other thing. When we're managing staff, when we're hiring staff and employees who we want to be successful, that we want to help create success with us, then the better we own these roles, the better we own these words, A, the better hire you will find, and B, the better job they will do. That's called culture. You know, I hire staff to take care of people. I'm like, that's awesome. Now, let's do the next 5 things, right? Because by the way, I can find anybody, staff members who care. And then let's measure your drop-offs, your cancels, because they're the people who don't want to deal with drop-offs and cancels. They're the ones who are going to try to get new patients off the phone quickly. So as I tell everybody, caring is the first box to check. If it's the only box you check, you will lose. Okay, I'll say it again. Caring, everybody must be caring. That must be the first box you check, and it's actually in the mindset and the attributes of a great front desk salesperson that I have. Caring is number 1, yet everybody stops. I love when people say my front desk cares. I'm like, that's awesome. That's a great start. I'm glad you found those people. So tell me the other attributes they bring to the game and why you hired them. And I'll wait. There's never anything else, right? Financial things, collecting money. By the way, people who care about the person across from them usually project a lot of bullshit. Their own bullshit, which I do, you do, we all do, right? So asking for copays when you think someone's copay is expensive because you wouldn't want to pay that. I've had that discussion a lot this week with clients. address this money mindset or having the right money mindset. I used to have a great two-part interview question for my front desk people, and there was no right or wrong answer. I just wanted people's perception around what physical therapy, what the services we offered were worth. And I didn't say to them. The first question was just in general. Then I asked to you, right? So if they say, yeah, this is worth $150, and then I asked, would you pay $150 for it? And they say, no, that's okay, but we must deal with that so they're not projecting that out onto other people, right? That was part of the interview process. That was always the very last question I asked. So again, separating out these roles is paramount to success. I'm actually doing a webinar soon, and in it, I'm looking at the front desk role, and I actually busted it out over the last couple of videos here. I've mentioned the dual role, but I actually busted it out to the three-part role, the back office also. Because what I'm finding more and more with people is they don't call it back office or front office anymore. They literally just lump everything in the front desk. They're setting their team up for failure. They're setting their hires up for failure. They're setting individuals up for failure, and they're setting themselves and their business up for failure. What do I mean by failure? I mean chasing new patients all the time, churning out drop-offs, 20-30% drop-offs, cancel rates above 10%, first visit arrival rate below 99%. Just picking up the phone, checking boxes, getting people scheduled. That's my favorite thing. Getting people scheduled will never grow your business. It will create something that appears to be growing that will implode at any moment in time. The COVID thing was an interesting take on all this, and I think proof of process of all this, of the number of clinics who quickly jumped into telehealth mode, which I think is totally appropriate, and yet nobody was scheduling. My first thought was, what the hell was your relationship with this patient prior to COVID? And the other people I knew about and the other people I know doing this work it wasn't smooth for anybody, but they were doing a better job. And they were converting more people, and they were transitioning, and they were able to keep the doors open, and they were able to keep people employed, right? To do what was best for the patients because of the relationship they had prior. So when you were calling someone to offer them telehealth, it didn't sound like you were just trying to keep them on the schedule to generate more revenue. And don't think your patients weren't thinking that shit when you were calling them. And I guarantee you, I wish I could have recorded a lot of those phone calls. Because most people just told their front desk to call people and get them scheduled, and it was a total transactional conversation. It was nothing about the person on the other end. It was all about the business and keeping things moving forward. And I had multiple conversations around that, and I heard multiple conversations around that, yeah, and it was unfortunate. And it was almost predictable to see who could do it and who wasn't. There's a pattern. There's a pattern to all this. And so it starts here, again, with this thing. Understanding this front desk role, understanding the bigger picture, the patient life cycle, the client life cycle. Until you understand your patient and client life cycle, you will never, ever, ever see the value of a front desk salesperson versus an admin person versus a back office support person. You'll think everybody, I've shared with you the stories of the clinic that hires 6 people, all 6 to do the same exact tasks. Some of the tasks would require one person 15 minutes a week. And yet everybody's responsible for it because they don't know what to do with their front desk. And the only way to keep them busy was to keep adding tasks. That's that junk drawer analogy. Oh, we get something new for the front desk because the providers, they're generating revenue. I'm like, and your front desk is missing phone calls to help people understand why they should schedule with you in the first place. And your staff is chasing drop-offs. Because always at these clinics, one of the primary tasks when I go to the front desk people, dealing with this right now, unsolicited, I had them write out all their tasks next to following up with drop-offs, right? Next to it, this takes up so much time. And I kind of smile, right? Because that's so predictable. So the clinic with the 5-6 front desk people all doing the same task, they're all chasing drop-offs. What a coincidence. They're all trying to follow up with no-shows. What a coincidence. They're all trying to deal with cancels. What a coincidence. Remember, the goal of cancels is not to manage a phone call, it's to prevent it. Where is it prevented? Front desk salesperson on the first phone call. How do we know this? because we understand the patient-client life cycle. Yes, and all this context for 18 minutes is why these next 5 things will make sense, is why you will be successful when you implement these today. You can implement this stuff. I've got it right in front of me. You can implement this stuff today. I guarantee you. None of it requires new training. None of it requires anything other than saying to your front desk, I need you to do these 5 things on every phone call. And I'm going to, by the way, if you walk this up to your front desk, right? If you walk this up to your front desk and you tell them to do it and you never check in again, they will not do it. Your kids, your spouse, your neighbor, anybody, it's the same thing. So again, it's not a knock on your front desk. It's the fact that you're not holding people accountable. So if you do not hold people accountable, they will not do what you ask of them. So when you go to your front desk and say, I want you to do these 5 things starting this afternoon, and I want you to write it down, I want you to document it in the EMR, I want you to put it somewhere because I'm going to be checking, you will see A, compliance by your front desk person, and B, an improvement in business metrics. Will you see them today? Maybe, but you'll really see the change in 30 days. Right? I already mentioned some of those. First visit arrival, drop-offs, cancels, completed plans of care. The completed plans of care, so increased completed plans of care, decreased drop-offs, decreased cancels, increased first visit arrival is built into these 5 steps. So I'm telling you, you can change whatever I just said, 4 or 5 business metrics with one process. Show me anything else you do in your business that can do that. So instead of chasing scheduled at the front desk and visits by the provider and units billed in the back office, focus on these 5 things on the first phone call, and you'll notice those things take care of themselves. Right? I've got a blog post I'm posting really soon called Managing Your Business as an Ecosystem, and that's what it is. So billing problems are solved on the first phone call. Cancel problems are solved on the first phone call. Arrival problems, no-shows, right, completed plans of care, are built and solved on the first phone call. If you've busted out the task, if you've busted out the skills, and you understand what that front desk salesperson should be doing. So Amy said in the comments, if you guys look, that's part of why I have 2 staff, one up front who deals with people and one in the back to handle the phones. I mean, that's awesome, Amy. It is as simple as that. So you can pretend they're not a salesperson, but put the salesperson in the back, okay? Let them answer the phones. Let them manage the cancels, the new patient calls and all of that, right? And let the person up front be the face. When I answered all the new patient incoming calls for a year in my own business, I was in the back office. I sat with the billing team. It was cool to sit with the billing team too. It was a good place to be for our interactions and what we needed from each other. So yeah, I never saw a patient. Literally and figuratively, never saw a patient. So here are the 5 steps, and I'll briefly go into each. Some of them are pretty freaking obvious. Remember this, I did this for a year. I've worked with other clinics who do and don't do it. And the big part of this, really where this comes out that I'm going to share with you, is my secret callers. So I'm listening to a boatload of calls right now, listening to recorded calls. And I kind of consider the recorded call a secret caller because I get to hear the interaction. I get to listen in without someone knowing, right? They know the calls are being recorded, but you'd be surprised how poorly the calls go sometime that you question whether the person knows if the calls are being recorded. So the recorded calls and the secret callers. So I've done hundreds, I won't say thousands, but I've done hundreds of those between the secret callers and listening to recordings. And it's really through that experience that these 5 things really come out. And this is why I'm sharing this with you, because nobody, AKA less than 5% of what I listen to, is doing this. Of the 5% doing it, they're doing it well, right? They do the whole thing. And then the rest of people do 0 to a little bit of this. But I would argue, again, we're back to caring. Well, my team cares. And I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't put people on the schedule who arrive, pay, stay, and do your marketing with you. Caring does not. People will only tolerate, because here's the other thing. Caring is a need. People believe they will get that wherever they go. And really, let's face it, in healthcare, the caring part is probably not really expected. And some people are okay with that. There was a great thread on Twitter the other day about going to a PT who's evidence-based, who you don't like, right? Would you go to that PT, right? Some people don't, and to me, that's that caring part. So don't get caught up in the caring word again. So here they are. So number one is to greet the person. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is not done regularly. So rather than delve into why it's not done and how it's not done, I'm just going to tell you what to do. You must acknowledge. Write down this. Step one is greet people. And next to that, put acknowledge. So when someone says, hi, my name's Jerry, I have low back pain, I want to get scheduled for physical therapy, the first words out of your mouth should be, well, hello, Jerry. In case you didn't get my name, it's Bill. And I'm glad you called us today because I can definitely help you get scheduled. And I know we can help you with that low back pain. That greeting with that acknowledgement just blew their mind and just told them this experience, if I follow through, will be different than anywhere else. They call it step one, greet. And I say / acknowledge. That is the simplest takeaway from today. You don't know how, I start every secret caller like that. I listen to the calls. You don't know how many people ask people their name after they've given it to them. Asking them their diagnosis. All that says you are not listening to me. So the greeting to me is the setup. Use their name, tell them they called the right place, and tell them that this call is going to be about them. There's the 3 takeaways. Tell them the call is going to be about them, right? Tell them they called the right place, and tell them this is going to be a great experience. Those 3 things with the greeting. I guarantee you, that alone, we could stop there. Number 2, determine their wants. What they need can be achieved anywhere. This is that drill in the whole story, right? Someone wants to hang a picture. Someone wants to do some work in their house and they want to hang a picture. And they go to the store and they look for a drill. Right? So again, this is great. Right? They don't really need a drill. They need a hole. Right? The drill is the need. So think about that, because people with low back pain and people you see can call a lot of different places and get what they need. So step number 2 is determine what they want. Now we're back to, hi, my name's Jerry, I need a drill. Well, tell me what the job is. What are you doing? And then you're going to ask them about the pictures. You're going to ask them about the stories behind the pictures. And that's why they'll buy the drill from you, right? So again, what do you want from us, right? And by the way, I'll tell you, you don't say what do you want, but this is related to their low back pain. And just this example, you use it for anything, is keeping them from doing something. They have pain for 30 minutes in the morning. They can't go to CrossFit. They can't pick up their grandchild. These are the wants. These are the wants. Right? I need to go on a trip in 2 weeks that I've planned for 2 years, and I have ankle pain, right? There's the want. They need some work on their ankle. Anybody can do that. But now they have some urgency, and it's related to this trip, right? All these emotional things. Determine wants is number 2. Number 3 is present and build value. I like this. Value is determined by the person on the other end of the phone. So you can't determine value, but I love this. You can build value. How do you do that? Making sure they understand what you can deliver based on their wants. And what you can deliver has nothing to do with the services, that we're all manual therapists, that we don't do ultrasound, things like that. No. The building value is that I have the right person for you who will tell you what's going on and can get you back to CrossFit and get rid of that morning pain. Now they're going, right? Instead of saying, well, we can help you. We got a lot of physical therapists who can help you with that low back pain. So does everybody else in town, right? But does anybody have Dr. Jane Doe, who's helped people with low back pain get back to CrossFit and get rid of morning pain, and has an opening tomorrow at 10:30? So now they're building the value equation. Because don't forget, you're going to give them a price and or insurance benefits or whatever. So without something to measure it again, price is a commodity. Price is useless. Number 4 is package it up. Give them, right? Give them the proposal. I like this, right? So now they know their provider. You scheduled them at 10:30, right? Here's the deal I have for you. I got a slot with Dr. Jane Doe, who's helped people get back to CrossFit and get rid of morning pain. I got a slot at 10:30 tomorrow, right? And then you even start to tell them what's going to occur in the evaluation. Again, build more value. but that's part of the proposal. Part of the proposal is the fact that what they will get out of that first visit, what they should expect. And then number 5, I like this. Instead of thinking of it as the end of the phone call, number 5 is start the relationship, meaning confirm that they will arrive. Instead of looking at it as the end of the phone call, I like to look at it as the last thing you do is make sure and confirm the start of the relationship. So number 1 is to greet them, right? We talked about those 3 things. Number 2 is to determine their wants. Number 3 is to present and build value. Number 4 is to offer them that proposal, bundle everything up you've talked about, right? Around what they want, what their goals are, bundle it all up. And then 5, right? Close it all out by starting the relationship. I love this. Simple enough, right? And all I'm going to say to you now is if you believe you're already doing this, have someone secret call your clinic and give them that list of 5 things. Tell me what happened with the greeting. I didn't catch their name. They didn't mention my name. And even later, they asked me my name again, even though I gave it to them at the beginning, right? Determine wants. That's huge. Did they ask you your goals? Of all the secret callers I've listened to, of all the recordings I've done, less than 10% have asked people why they're calling. Let me be more specific. Less than 10% have asked people, what do you need from us? Need to get out of pain. Okay, what's the pain limiting you from doing? Greet, determine their wants, present and build value, wrap it all up into a proposal, and then close it all up by starting the relationship. The 5 things your front desk salesperson, and by the way, front desk, the person in the back answering the phone, must do on every new patient call that you can write down and take them through like I just did today and make them more successful at what? Getting people to arrive, pay, stay, and do your marketing with you, right? Front desk success is the first step in patient success, which is required for business success. That's it. 31 minutes. That was pretty damn good with that lead in. There's the technical term is, I believe, a fuck of a lot of value in this 31 minutes. All right? All right. Cheers all. You all have a great day. If you got any questions, you can DM me. If you want me to secret call you, that's one of my favorite things. I love secret calling. Not because I like making people look bad. Not because I like to tell people they suck. I like to do it because I'll tell you what, most everybody is a few questions away from flipping it. And what I've learned over the years is there is no changing your intake. It's just changing the way questions are asked. And I love that I've seen over the years that there are small changes like this that you can make that will have an immediate impact and change the quality of that first phone call so quickly. So again, I'm not here, I say this every time and I will say this again. There's never been a front desk person who was doing something wrong. They're doing what they were trained to do. They're doing what they were asked to do. And if they weren't trained or they weren't asked, then they are doing what they believe is the best way to do it. So I've never ever once told someone your front desk sucks, your front desk is poor, your front desk is bad. I say, you suck. You didn't train them. You didn't tell them their accountabilities. You don't hold them accountable. You throw everything at them. I'm like, I don't even know why right? You throw all this stuff out there and then you yell at them for not doing task 23 properly. I'm like, and you didn't prioritize them, nothing. And everybody's supposed to do them, so who's doing them? If 6 people are responsible for task 35, who's doing it? Well, I thought she'd do it, right? That's not their fault. All right, everybody. I appreciate your time today. Cheers.